feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the DaneMoore NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at you Sunday evening. It's April 27th, and we have immediate reactions to Game 4 with Britt, Robson, and Kyle Theige. Coming up, this episode is brought to you by Treasure Island Resort and Casino. And if you are looking for a place to watch Game 5, head down to Treasure Island and watch the game in the Parlay Lounge. The Parlay Lounge has a huge projection screen above the stage, and there are also like two bars that flank that big projector screen there. It is a great place to watch sports, maybe play some blackjack during halftime. We've loved doing shows in the Parlay for Wolves games during this season, and it's looked like a blast for these Wolves playoff games. Again, as a reminder, all island watch parties include free food, prize giveaways, and special guests. For more information, visit ticasino.com. All right, I am now joined by Britt, Robson, Kyle Theige. Crazy game. I don't know really where to start, guys, going into that one, other than at the end, maybe we could work our way backwards. It was Wolves were down 97-104 with 5 minutes left in the game, and the team who could not figure itself out in clutch time this season during the regular season executed at a really, really high clip on both sides of the ball to close down that game. Britt, I'll start with you. Anthony Edwards in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, I mean, the easy narrative is that the superstar is a maturing superstar who is enabling his teammates. His mix was one of his best bevy of bouquets you could think of in terms of this game. He shot 13 twos and hit 7. He shot 10 threes and hit 5. He shot 17 free throws and hit 14. He had 9 rebounds and 6 assists and 1 turnover, 43 points. I just think that if you're thinking about 55% of his shots, official shots should be 2, and you throw in almost 20 free throws and 50% on 10 threes and 1 turnover, 6 times, 9 rebounds, and stepping up in a way where he was getting hockey assists, but also governing the game. It was a complete performance in a way that wasn't especially flashy. It was extremely efficient relative to what Ant usually does. And I just think that what we're seeing from the podium when he starts to talk about, he is breaking down specific aspects of the game plan after the game is over. And it's just a night and day thing. He's no longer the happy-go-lucky kid saying, well, I'm just happy to be here. And, give me Dame Lillard's photo, please. I mean, it's just a very, very different
breaking
vibe.
down the second low man in the coverage where they go to the weak side versus strong side. Yeah, I mean, it's a ton of the stuff that, I mean, quite frankly, you and I have
criticized him.
Yeah, just over the course of time. But for the reason of, it's been clear with this team for a couple of years, right, Kyle, that they need this version of Anthony Edwards at the end of games to win. I mean, if you don't get both scoring and like aware playmaking, Ant, where does this team go to even like match pace with the opponent? In this one, they had to make up 7 points in the last 5 minutes of the game, and Ant, and I guess the crowd with him, kind of jumped on it from there. Just, I haven't talked to you yet for this game, and I don't even know if Kyle's playing a little hurt right here too, but.
I agree. That's all I got.
Kyle has a broken throat.
I think Britt brought up a really good point. I remember that fourth quarter starts and they're down 10, and Ant comes. I think he hits back-to-back threes. He just kind of, again, he's embracing the moment, but that's not really new. We saw that, I think, even dating back to his rookie season. But if you have a chance, go watch the YouTube of the post-game media stuff, because to Britt's point, like, he's now giving really high-level basketball analysis in these answers, which shows like he's starting to figure it out. I don't know how many assists he has in these first 4 games, but he has 6 turnovers. and he's playing 40 minutes a night in these first 4 games. I mean, he's clearly solving the puzzle one game at a time. And the biggest play of the night that ended up basically being the winning play was him getting doubled on the sideline, not getting any stat, right? Not an assist, finds Nas in the middle, and then Nas makes the extra pass to Jaden for the end one. When he plays like that, he is one of the 3, 4, 5 best players in the league.
I said this at the end when we did this after game 3, where Ant looks very prepared for the defense that they're putting against him in clutch time. And I think a difference in this series versus previous series, or not previous series, just regular season games, was a team would oftentimes switch gears in the fourth or in the end of the game, and would take Ant, a possession or two to adjust to how the defense was loaded to him. I don't say this to like take away from him, but he's now, when there's 5 minutes left in the game, he's like receiving a test that he actually knows the answers to. He just has to write them down. And I know that's reductive, but there's not the assessment of like, okay, they are putting 2 on the ball on me here, or they're in, or whatever it might be. It's that same look that the Lakers are running all game,
right?
That tight shell, and Ant knows what to do against that.
Right. At
the end of games, I was the Lakers, I would just throw something different just to be different, because he knows the answers to this assignment in clutch time.
And what I like about him, and when you said he knows the answers, it made me think of the kid in class that goes, I know, like this.
Yeah.
And then there's the kid who waits to be called upon, and when he's called upon, he goes A to Z with the answer and just sits there. And Ant is somewhere between those two extremes, but he's definitely leaning into the guy who waits to be called upon and then just delivers things. And then they also say to the kid sitting next to him, and you knew this about this and this, didn't you? And you were great at that. I mean, again, he was up there with Dante this time. Whenever you're on the podium with Anthony Edwards, you're going to walk out of there feeling a lot better than you did when you walked in. And, we were talking about how much more intelligent Ant has become. And he said, well, I just listened to Dante. And I don't disbelieve it. I do believe that there's always truth in what he says, but he leans into the fact that I'm sure Dante did talk about, hey, there's a backdoor cut here, or hey, there's this. And whatever he can say that is truthful and positive about a teammate, he will. And once again, it just speaks to the idea that I said this at the end of game 3 here is, if you want to criticize Anthony Edwards, there is some reason to. And he had some defensive assignments in the very crunch time we're talking about tonight that were not great. But in totality, the line keeps moving upward at a fairly slow but steady pace. And when things need doing, when the pressure is on, he has always delivered more than he delivers when there isn't that pressure on him. This team has a superstar that enjoys the pressure, that feels like when the pressure is on, that is his time to lock in. And you can't, I mean, you draft a guy, you have no idea whether that's going to be the case. And even you have to be there. And once again, anybody who gave the Wolves a puncher's chance in this first round against these, glitzy teams and glitzy opponents would say, well, you have playoff Ant.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. Not only do we have playoff Ant, but we have crunch time playoff Ant.
Well, in playoff Ant isn't enough. Playoff anyone wouldn't be enough. Playoff Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not enough for the Oklahoma City Thunder to win the NBA championship. Playoff Nikola Jokic isn't enough for Denver. It's 2025. There is defenses can load against players that you can not remove them from the game, but you can make it so they have to be relying on their other teammates as well. And again, was a big theme of game 3 was again tonight. They closed with that same lineup: Kyle, Reed, Randle, McDaniels, DiVincenzo, and Edwards out there. And that is a group in the last 5 minutes that could switch 5, right? We could talk about while Rudy was pulled off there, but can also have it where, okay, here it is, where they brought three guys on there, two guys and a third help guy. Oh, all right. Well, now whoever one of the other four chess pieces are, it doesn't matter to Ant. He can find one of them, and it's not going to be Rudy behind the 3-point arc, right? Every person who catches between Reed, Randle, McDaniels, and DiVincenzo can and frankly did do something in those last 5 minutes.
This ties into Ant, but did you think today's crowd was louder than Friday's?
Oh yes, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's the loudest it's ever been. I mean, what about you? What do you say?
Yeah, I usually don't pay much attention to the crowd.
I don't normally either, but it was a different level.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've all felt the same thing. There's a growing acceptance that this is probably the better team.
Mm.
And that required a leap of faith a week and a half ago. And now it requires just getting used to the reality. If you're a fan, that's a wonderful step forward.
Well, it removes that nervous energy, right? We were talking about that before.
The reason I say that is because if you kind of start to dissect the game again, and the whole second half should be its own segment in that fourth quarter. But in that first half, I thought the Lakers had the Wolves at an arm's length the whole time. Like it was always 8, it was always 10. There's a couple times where they could, like Luka has that missed layup. They had a couple misses that kind of hurt them, and maybe this is just the fan in me, but I got vibes of when Kevin Durant and Ant were going shot for shot in the first round last year. That was really getting the stadium juiced up. Ant, whether he admits it or not post game, I thought he was trying to set a tone there a little bit with that Oklahoma drill that he was running with LeBron in the second quarter. And I think that allowed them to kind of fight back, get to the half relatively close. Then again, this should be its own topic, that 14-0 run that the Lakers came out in the third quarter. But then again, when I think of superstars in the NBA compared to like any other sport, I just think it's all the stuff they can do on the court while also, to Britt's point, like embracing the moment, feeding off the fans. And he was just, I mean, it was one of the best games he's ever had in one of the biggest spots. And it was incredible.
Yeah, it was. It just doesn't like heliocentric, right? Like that's not the way they don't use Ant in the same way that, Harden was used in Houston or, Luka in Dallas. But like he is the sun,
right?
And then it's about the other things kind of orbiting effectively around that, and I would say including the crowd. He starts the momentum, but I go back to those teammates, Britt, in that closing lineup of those guys then need to use that warmth, right? And Nas certainly did.
When I asked Finch about it after the game, I said, "What is it? You've closed now twice with them, and they've wiped the board in those minutes." And he talked about, he used the word gritty, and he said, not that the other people are not gritty. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, Nas Reed is many things, but gritty is not the first thing I'd put on my list. Dante DiVincenzo is hella gritty. And I think what he wants there is to have somebody who is a disruptor, somebody who is willing to take a little bit of a chance, somebody who will go for the steal, who will risk the foul to block the shot of somebody 40 pounds heavier than they are. He had, 3 or 4 blocks in game 3. He had like 5 steals tonight.
4 in the first half, I think.
And a lot of that was just he stopped transition. He was running back to get things that were outlet passes in transition. Some of it was just, what I like about DiVincenzo is some people get physical out of duty, and some people get physical because it's a part of their game that they like to play. He likes to play physical. I said to you in the middle of the game, I said, if Dante was 6'7" in the paint, it would just be, he'd be a wrecking crew. Right. I mean, as it is, he's 6'3", 6'4", and he's a force down there in the paint. And he's a dog. He's playing as an equal down there with power forwards and centers. When I say playing as an equal, it doesn't necessarily mean he is as good in that environment, but he's playing as if he's a peer in that environment. And that fearlessness counts because that's how you get a tough rebound. That's how you fight through a pick, or that's how, like, when it's a loose ball, when it's around everybody's knees, you wind up with it. And that's what Finch likes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as good as Mike Conley is. Mike Conley can't give you that, and Mike Conley needs to be protected. when it comes to the Timberwolves in the crunch time now, if Dante is on somebody who's not a star, he will shut them down more than likely.
Mm-hmm. He had that Dante's, for his many positive attributes, a weakness of his, probably the weakness, is finishing at the rim. But in crunch time, he had that and one finish, and that's what pushed the lead to 111, 107. And the Lakers hit those threes on the next two possessions. I remember the first one. Finney Smith was the second one.
Too.
Yeah, I think it was Reeves and Finney Smith.
Yeah.
And they, then the Wolves fall down 111, 103. But it's all of these things that have to happen in addition to Ant. That's what my point is of this. And Dante did that. Nas had, I think, 8 points once he checked in at that time. Julius Randle, I remember having a huge defensive rebound. Like every one of those guys did something, maybe not their main thing, but that's what they need to have Phil around Ant when Ant is in that sort of way, or maybe even if Ant is missing some shots, pick up for him.
Dante isn't 6'7", so he doesn't attack the rim that often.
Right.
But did you ever watch Slam Ball? Like when he does the 2-foot takeoff thing, like that's when he's really feeling himself. And he did get that end one. Conversely, he had that heat check kind of left-handed layup that LeBron just swatted out of nowhere. But
that's crazy.
I also think too, I mean, we talk about when Dante gets a rebound, he like has some sauce and just getting the ball up. He had 5 steals tonight. I mean, he was awesome defensively. And I thought they had maybe game 1 was probably the best, but I thought tonight was one of the better bench performances, especially compared to like game 2. So they got a little juice from Nas in the fourth. They got a little juice from Dante. And that depth, as we will talk about later on here, is basically the X factor, right? Like the fact that the Wolves can give their guys a blow and can turn to someone else and trust them in big spots means they don't have to play, their best players 46 and a half minutes.
You referenced this earlier, Kyle. I think one of my favorite plays of the entire season was Ant moving to the left slot.
Yep.
Multiple defenders coming to him. Nas reading, feeling it, going middle. Jaden diving from the corner simultaneously, so Nas could square, drop off to Jaden for the other and one in crunch time. And there was what went through my head at that moment was like, these guys coming of age, and kind of the first thing, if I'm being honest, first thing that went through my head was like, no way in hell would those three have ever executed that even a year ago,
All three. Ant would not have seen that outlet with Nas there. Nas would not have recognized this position he was in and what his options were nearly as quickly. And Jaden, the way he would have finished. He finished through traffic. That was a tough finish for him because they were right down there. And so I also just want to say it's a vibe thing. It's more in Kyle's bag, quite frankly. But Nas, Jaden, and Ant are like this.
Yeah.
And Dante and Randle came over as like, we're the renegades from the other planet, and we're dropping in. And they really leaned on each other in the first month or two of the season, where Dante was always talking up Randle and just basically saying, we have 2 stars on the team. We get the ball to Ant and Randle. And he did, he admitted he struggled. It was, all his Villanova guys were gone. He just had a kid. All of a sudden he's in Minnesota instead of New York. A kid from Villanova who played in Philly. Just a lot of things. And he's not a starter, 40 minutes under Tibbs, playoff teams all the time. And he leaned on Randle. And those 5, but within those 5, there's guys that just connect. And then when you see, it's almost like, I would imagine this is the way it is like an AAU ball or whatever, when you have these pickup teams and you see the best players on the opponent's team, and then all of a sudden they're on your team, and they maybe play a little better together because they're there, but you see the guy from that opposition hit one of your guys with the right play to go, all right, this 5 is going to be good. And you really get a togetherness vibe out of those 5 people. You get a sense that they all know they're multi-purpose players. As Dante said at the podium, all 5 of us can shoot from pretty much anywhere on the court. And he's right, if you think about it. And so, I mean, even Jaden from 3, which is probably the least of any of those things. And Jaden has begun to play big. So you have essentially 3 bigs and a warrior who goes into the paint, and then it.
No, I think the stylistic similarity in comfort in like preferred style of play with those 5 really checks out, right? And offensively, you just covered all of that. But I think the Gobert sub in with like 3.5 minutes left in the game, he came in for 1 defensive possession.
And the Lakers hit a 3.
And the Lakers hit a 3 because Rudy wanted to be doing his thing where, he's staying at the rim and I was right in front of us. And he's saying, Ant, you go take this guy in the corner. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here to defend the rim or the drive, the Luka, whatever, which is a smart,
one of the ways they play.
Yeah. But that group had been vibing on switching 5, getting out and running. And Ant was just kind of like, I don't really want to think this through as much. I want to switch 5, guard. Like we just guard like that. And, Rudy's playing a little bit more 3D chess. Well, when Rudy's trying to play 3D chess and everyone else is playing checkers, like it doesn't work there. And I'm not saying that doesn't, obviously all those guys have an appreciation for Rudy Gobert, but I think to make that 7-point comeback, it had to be a group of 5 guys playing synergistically, which they weren't with Rudy, but also they all wanted to be playing that way at the end of the game. That really stood out to me defensively and offensively. Let me grab our first break here, then we can keep going on this. This episode is brought to you by First Resource Bank. First Resource Bank has locations throughout Minnesota, including their new branch in Minneapolis. If you are a small business owner in particular, I know from my personal experience that working with a community bank like FRB can do more to help you achieve your small business dreams. It's just a smaller feel. I've worked with the bigger branches, bigger type bank branches before, and it's a whole different process. At a hometown, smaller type bank, there's more of a personal connection there and an understanding of, hey, I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And I think First Resource Bank is, again, for me, has been a really helpful resource. Also, their owner, Tim Siegel's a big Wolves fan. So we would love it if you checked out First Resource Bank. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Kyle, what do you, obviously we don't have the Wolves next game up there, but do you have some that you're looking at for the, Monday slate?
Yeah, the Rockets. I don't know if you watched Rockets Warriors last night.
Britt was telling me I missed out. I crashed.
I would just keep taking, I think tomorrow night's line for Steph is more or less than 27 points for Steph, but he's just been awesome. I mean, watching him again last night, like Britt said, 80% of the Rockets' whole game plan is just shut down Steph, 10% score and 10% fight. But Steph has just been otherworldly, and he might be having kind of another moment in late in his career like LeBron has been having in this series. So I would take more than 27 points for Steph. And that's what's
fun about Prize Picks is picking up on. I think if you are watching like a playoffs, obviously listeners, you're watching this Wolves series, but if you've been watching the other series, you have a feel for like what these teams are trying to get to or what they're trying to take away. And yeah, it's like a weird way to be able to put your sort of coach's cap on and be like, I think this guy's gonna be bigger here or less than here. And that's always it's fun when you're just watching one of these many NBA playoff games. So that's prizepicks.com or on the PrizePicks app. If you use the promo code Dane to sign up to make an account, they'll credit your account with $50 when you place your first $5 lineup. Sorry about that. We can keep rolling on that, Britt.
Well, one of the things I wanted to say was the other great thing about that closing lineup the past 2 games is nobody has to watch out for each other. Nobody has to say, okay, this person needs this a little bit.
Right.
Everybody is hooping,
As Finch would say, it's coming in the flow.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so it really is this and Dante both talked about emphasizing what people do best and hiding what they don't do well. But within that, there is also an element of freedom out there that is different. And put it this way, the pace, even when the actual possession lengths, which are how pace are usually determined, I've looked at things, and the pace isn't that different, but it feels a lot different out there because everybody is moving, and a switch-heavy defense is much more of a movement game.
Yep.
A inside-outside ball movement is much more of a movement game. Coming from one end of the court to the other far more quickly creates that sense of pace, whether you actually end the possession later, earlier or not. But the point is that it feels like a little bit more playground, a little bit more we're having fun rather than we're playing a game kind of thing where, we're hooping. And if you think about all five of those guys, they have that panache in their bag. They have that, hey, Julius Randle can go through four guys and still bank it off the rim. Or Dante, obviously, we talked about his grittiness. Nas, Big Jelly gets called out by Michael Grady all the time. And no need to say anything else there, And Jaden McDaniels, probably the last guy to be able to really come to the party this way. He got 6 rebounds in the fourth quarter. That was just huge.
How many games was it like into the season that it took him to get to 6
rebounds
in a game? Yeah,
like exactly.
Oh.
I mean, there was a stat I had one time where if Jaden got 8 or more rebounds, the Wolves are like 80% winning or something. Tonight, LeBron started the game on him and shut him down. LeBron James is a phenomenal defender, and he was exerting himself. He knew what his assignment was, and his assignment was to take away Jaden McDaniels, who would cost them the first 2 games that they lost in the series. And so Jaden was fairly erased. And
let's talk about the matchups a little bit. The Luka and LeBron part of it, because in bigger picture here, I want to talk about Luka and LeBron having a great game and great games, and the Wolves still overcoming that and winning a game and being up 3-1 in the series. I mean, that sentence right there, if you're a Wolves fan, should give you confidence in them being able to wrap this up, and that the 2 star players on this team had it going and they still overcame that. But part of it was, I think, to get Luka going, is they needed to find Luka needed a different defensive matchup, and they moved their chessboard around, and just right away from the jump of the game, we knew it was different, right? They switched the matchups. How they started the game was they put Jackson Hayes on Jaden McDaniels. We talked about this after the last one, right? Kyle was like, all right, you can't put Luka on Jaden McDaniels again. We knew there was probably going to be some sort of change there. So Jackson Hayes is the matchup on him. Or when they went to their smaller ball lineup with Finney Smith at the 5, then LeBron would guard McDaniel. So it wasn't any Luka on Jaden in this one. The other changes were they put Hachimura on Gobert. LeBron was guarding Conley in that starting group. Reeves was on Edwards still, and then they moved Luka onto guarding Julius Randle, who's just gonna be a player that you have. Well, you just have help there. Like their defense is designed.
Actually, LeBron.
To who?
I mean, no. What I mean is, like, LeBron was on Conley for a reason. I think LeBron wasn't really guarding Conley.
Yeah, like that's what I'm just saying. Like in general, probably the best place to put Luka is on somebody where your defense is designed to bring the most help. So your 2 choices are Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. You're not gonna.
Very good.
And he had a lot of Ant too at different times.
And also he's more deliberate, and he's not. He's a load, but he's not really fast off the bounce.
Well, that's what he needs to do when he has Luka on him. You got to attack kind of in the same way that that Jaden was in game 3. But Kyle, just like, are you with me just kind of on that idea of that really shifting the odds or likelihood of the Wolves winning a game in the series, or this, I guess now winning a game is winning the series? I just think you should take some serious confidence from the idea that they were able to overcome what Luka and LeBron were able to do in this game and still be able to come out with a win. Because I don't think you can be sure that Luka or LeBron are going to have this good of a game, again, let alone simultaneously.
LeBron sat 70 seconds.
Yeah, right.
And Luka sat 2 minutes and 11 seconds. If we haven't mentioned this yet, it's worth mentioning now, but JJ Redick didn't sub in the second half. Jackson Hayes was benched. He played 4 minutes to start the game, but then he just went to basically their small ball lineup and he played them all 24 minutes.
Crazy.
Down the stretch. And I've never seen that before. It was crazy to watch LeBron at 40 still have more juice than his teammate Luka down the stretch too. But I was just thinking back to anytime you mentioned Jaden McDaniels, I'm going to kind of black out. But Britt had that thing about the rebounding. And obviously we've seen Jaden grow offensively in this series or this season since January. And the defense has always been there. But again, tonight, he led the team with 11 rebounds. And I tweeted this out earlier this year, but in his first 4 years in the league, 284 games, Jaden had 8 or more rebounds 19 times. And this season alone, he had 8 or more rebounds 24 times. Just him developing, again, maybe this goes back to what we said on Friday, but hey, actually, I'm a big. I'm not a 3-and-D guy, but
the dunker spot plays a big man play too, right? That we're talking about. I mean, that's a skill, that he's added a big man's game to it.
And speaking of rebounding too, because I had nothing else on Rudy, but I was watching that game being like, maybe Rudy can't play anymore. In this series, because it was just getting really ugly. But yeah, maybe you can expand. You had that tweet about Rudy did have 7 of his 10 rebounds were offensive rebounds. Those are as you said, getting a defensive stop.
Dude, he doesn't even need to get the offensive rebound. All he has to do is get fouled when he's going for an offensive rebound.
He's getting fouled a lot.
Yeah, I mean, how many times? I don't know. I could look this up, but I would bet it would 3 or 4 times that when he was going for an offensive rebound, he got fouled. That's the same result. It's side out Wolves ball. So he had 7 offensive rebounds.
7 offensive rebounds.
So then, and you add 3 more times he's fouled there. That's basically 10 defensive stops. If you think about it, right? It's retaining the ball after you miss a shot. And yeah, clearly Rudy has had significant limitations in the series, right, Britt? They're playing a team where they played the majority of they play the entire second half with the biggest guy out there being Finney Smith or something like that, So there's not great spots for Rudy to be able to come in, and then that makes it sting more when he fumbles one or whatever. But I don't know. For me, knowing how important he is to this team, knowing when you actually look at the numbers, how they're how he is limiting the Lakers' offense when he's out there, it doesn't need to be an even decent offensive performance from a scoring standpoint from him or involvement standpoint in just the half-court offense for him to be a productive piece in this. I mean, it's more of a bench player, a role player type deal because he's not closing the games. It's shorter stints. But I don't leave this being Rudy, Rudy can't play. I would say it's the same thing. What's he been playing? What he played tonight? 26 minutes. Yeah, that's what it is. He's playing half the game, maybe a little bit more than that. And provided they have that closing lineup and those guys are rolling, and Nas because he was able to overcome his stuff at the beginning of the game. Right. Then yeah, they can afford to have Rudy not be out there and also be Rudy added some stuff to this. I don't look at this Rudy's having a disaster series. I'm looking at it Rudy's a little de-emphasized overall on both sides, but still kind of packing some punch, a similar punch to what the regular season feels like.
A lot to respond to. First, I'll go to I think the matchups, whoever Luka is guarding has a nice game going because Luka can't defend very well. That's just the way it is. And Julius Randle ought to buy Jaden McDaniels dinner tonight because they had to put Luka on Julius because clearly Jaden McDaniels had worn Luka out and they needed to switch. And in fact, Julius saw that and took advantage of it. He was the thrust of the Wolves offense for most of the first quarter and a half of the game until Ant really kind of got unwound. And I think that could be a given throughout the rest of this series, however long it lasts. If Luka is matched up with somebody, punish that matchup,
Right.
make them come off, make LeBron have to expend the extra energy to help. We saw LeBron a couple of times rushing to help, and all of a sudden the ball movement went the other way. And it's just so weird to see LeBron James in space, not confused, but caught in the middle.
Sure.
I mean, it was such a moment of weakness. That one time in particular, I saw he was going off Conley, and all of a sudden they whipped the ball in, and Conley's got it back or something, or maybe Conley had already gotten rid of it. But whatever it was, LeBron was in no man's land, and he knew it. And it was as much as you'll ever see LeBron flail in a game. And that's because Luka Doncic has proven himself in this series, at least, to be a very sub-mediocre defender. And if the Lakers really want to make that magical duo get better, they're going to have to find somebody who could score and defend and guard a wing. So there's that aspect of it. As for Rudy, Rudy is going to have to be diminished on this team going forward if they're going to hit their peaks. There are going to be matchups where Rudy is going to be emphasized. But the days, I think, and I hope he makes me eat my words, quite frankly, the days where the Wolves hung their hat and their identity totally at the defensive end and were willing to give up whatever that cost elsewhere, I think are over. And I think they have the personnel to be a much more balanced team. And I also think it will help morale to have the kind of game that they, at least, the main guys like to play. Mike Conley has another year after this one.
Didn't look like it for a minute there.
That magical block. But anyway, the point being is, Rudy was minus 11 tonight. And some of that was because he wasn't in for the big comeback in the fourth quarter. Before that, it would have looked a little bit more evened out. But that is the point also in some respects, is that when your backs are against the wall, you go to your best five. And right now, the Wolves' best five is not with Rudy Gobert. And I would say that's probably going to be true.
It'll be true against goal. If I'm not trying to jump ahead to the next one, but but if they play Houston next round, Rudy becomes significantly more critical, and he's closing the game.
Sengun.
Yeah,
but he has to be Adams. If they take Adams off the floor, Sengun does give him fits.
Yeah, but
all right, guys, we're not doing that. You guys know how much of a pussy I am. We're not doing the.
No. I'm just saying. No, what we're talking about though is Rudy's primacy. Rudy Gobert's peak with the Wolves, I think,
I hear what you're saying,
was the 23-24 season. And I'm with you every step of the way where you say you don't appreciate Rudy Gobert until you see him every day. I do think he is a regulator. I think that you need an adult in the room. Rudy is one of the most adults in the NBA. But there also needs to be space for that to slowly get edged out. And the Wolves' future, here's what I thought when I saw Ant hit Nas, hit Jaden.
Yep.
That's the second timeline. We're going to see that 5 years from now, and they're all going to be in their prime.
The thing that stood out from Rudy, not to criticize him, but 1 for 6 from Rudy was his lowest field goal percentage of the entire season. And that was actually a theme in that first half. I think at one point I looked up and the Wolves were 3 for 17 at the rim. That would have been, Rudy had his best game. He's averaging 3.5 points now a game in the series, but his rebounding was big. The offensive rebounding was big. I think it kept him alive. I think 7 or 6 of those were in the first half. So,
well, that's what I'm going to say. It's it's important to keep him alive.
Yeah,
I think, because I think you can let go of the primacy without completely neutralizing.
You don't want to shelve a guy who you're paying $30 million a year for the next 3 years, who's already taken endless loads of shit in social media and by his peers and by his older generation of next generation players who all just like to crap on the guy. And So yeah, there's obviously a sense of fairness, and the guy is genuinely for the team as much as everybody else is. I think he's doing a great job of doing the best he can. I think, we talk about Finch wanting to keep everybody happy. Chris Finch knows it's winning time, and he knows that Rudy is important to that for a good part of the journey. But he knows if you need to hit the tape, that you probably will do it ahead of everybody else if Rudy is not on the court.
Kyle, we talked about this in a pod maybe like a month or 6 weeks ago or something like this, of like what I was saying is my concern was Rudy's lack of offense, specifically on the short roll, and being able to do something in the lane, whether it be pass or hit a shot from a little push shot, floater shot, hook shot, whatever it might be. I had serious concerns that was what was going to ultimately do this team in. In this series, though, it's not really those situations. It's not like there aren't these times where I know he went 1 for 6. That's him getting stripped underneath, and it's a lot of the time that was on offensive rebounds, right? Like
Probably,
it wasn't like
the first possession of the game. They did just post him up.
Right. Yeah, they're doing the Perkins with him. But I just think it's okay if it's not in these spots where he's catching the ball in the middle and he has to do anything. He's not touching the ball at all unless he's getting an offensive rebound. So it's like, cool. And you know what? And at the end of the day, if he's upset with this role and not enough offensive usage, it's his fault. It's his fault he did not develop a little 8-foot push shot. It's his fault that if he's got Austin Reeves on him, that he can't drop step dunk on that. He doesn't have that. And I think he gets it. I'm not sitting out there watching him being like, yo, like, give it to me. It's not that. I think he's accepted, Kyle. He's accepted the role that I think Britt's talking about, where it's like less top of the triangle.
And I think big picture, this conversation about Rudy Gobert is just a reminder of what this series is all about, is that Rudy Gobert is a really good basketball player, and the Wolves really don't need much from him because they have so many other good basketball players. Like I said, they can close with Nas and Julius at the 4-5. And then conversely, you look across and you have a Lakers team that is scrambling to find that's a tough loss for LA to go down 3-1 in general. It's a tough loss when LeBron plays 46 minutes, when Luka gives you 38. They got a really good game out of Rui tonight. 23 points, 5 for 10 from 3, and it still wasn't enough. I mean, you look at the Wolves can throw Terrence Shannon Jr. out there, and he gets 4 rebounds in like 2 minutes. One team just has a clear advantage in their depth, and I think the other one is just trying to fight and claw. And like again, you saw that in the first half, but I don't know if you want to get into the fourth quarter or anything specific, but I just had a crazy stat here about in the first 4 games, the Lakers are shooting under 30% from the field in all fourth quarters. They've been outscored 23-17, 20-13, 30-20, 32-19 tonight. And in games 3 and 4, in the 12 final minutes combined, LeBron and Luka have 0 points.
I want to do the opposite. Anybody who thinks I'm burying Rudy Gobert, I will give you a good counter argument.
I would just say I agree everything with what you're saying. I like the way that you're putting it. Of like, it's not the primacy that he had a season ago.
And here is the way I want to defend Rudy Gobert, in addition to what I just said. Every playoff series has a life of its own, and it's built upon certain precepts that each team comes in thinking is their best thing. And the Lakers decided packing the paint and taking away Rudy Gobert, even with small ball, was something they wanted to do. And as a result, that opens up Jade McDaniels in the corner to get going or whatever. But the point being, what teams came in doing was established. And what Finch said in tonight's pregame was, nobody really has made anything other than tweaks. Nobody's made any major moves. Now, they did with Luka's assignment tonight. But what I'm saying is, let's say it's the next season, and let's say the kind of momentum shift I'm talking about happens, and the Wolves are going in with the closing lineup as their starters. And the Lakers look that over and they say, okay, we know how to stop this. We will try to stop this. And all of a sudden, you say in the last 5 minutes of the game, or maybe in crucial times of the game, we've got a pick and roll thing that will totally screw that up. We're bringing in Gobert and we're pounding the paint.
Sure.
I mean, it's a counterpunch. Right now, Rudy is in the initial assortment. If Rudy comes in as a counterpunch like Dante and Nas are coming in now, he can be extraordinarily effective because he does some things really well at both ends of the court on offense, setting picks, rolling and putting back.
That's the thing. And that's what they're switching 5, right? The Lakers are switching 5. So it's like, I remember I put this on in my notes in game 1. They tried to run one of those empty corner Mike and Rudy pick and rolls.
Right.
And the Lakers just switched it.
So
and they're like, all right, now Mike just has it with another guy that he can't take off the dribble from there. So it's like part of this, and I know we don't want to get like a series ahead, but I just, it's disappointing numbers, Kyle, right? It's disappointing numbers from Rudy, but part of them are a product of the opponent, how the opponent's playing, and Rudy's inability to punish offensively that type of opponent. I would be stunned regardless of if they get to the next round, they have another matchup, if his production, minutes, role are the same, because this style that the Lakers are playing completely rules out the few advantages Rudy has, offensively, other than offensive rebounding. And he only had 3 offensive rebounds in this series through the first 3 games. At least he had 7.
And it seems counterintuitive because they're playing small ball, but as Finch took a lot of time pointing out, they are not really a small ball defense there. They are grinding, and they are purposely taking away things. They play big, they rotate hard, they switch a lot, and they are not necessarily a small team, and they are not playing in a manner that would indicate they're a small team.
It would indicate it feels like a really big team.
They are taking away the
Cavs,
center
right?
who gets all the points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and so it is. It's an interesting thing. And that's why the Dorian Finney-Smith, he played center most of the time when Luka came over. And Luka is 6'7". Luka led the Lakers in rebounding, partly because he's always been a good rebounder and he's 6'7", but partly because they have played this kind of style of, dynamically moving people around and at the same time having that shell that goes from the inside out rather than the outside in. Yeah. So again, it's Rudy Gobert is in a tough matchup on the chessboard as it's arrayed. At the same time, my thing that I've hammered this entire series is the offensive versatility of this team. Is its coming out party. It's going to be, I think, the future.
Yep.
I think this team, Nas, Jaden McDaniels, and Ant are going to be really dynamic. And if you have Randle and DDV along, and you get Dillingham or whoever else is in the mix, Shannon Jr., whatever.
It's the beginning of a stylistic shift.
It's beginning of a stylistic shift, and it's a beginning of a new dawn with Ant in a role that leads his peers rather than like cocks an ear to Mike Conley every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Kyle, give us another topic to kind of roll with here. I think that's
sweet. I'm feeling better now. So I just want to get 2 things off my chest after spending the whole weekend here. We got to stop giving people towels, because I can only do so many. Like, those are the type of towels you use when you go through the car wash and your car's not fully dry. Like, oh, let me put one in my car and wipe down. The people deserve t-shirts. Give them t-shirts.
Cheap.
Yeah. Number 2 was we got to do better with concessions and drink sales on stuff at halftime, because way too many empty seats to start that third quarter. And I honestly, in my soul, felt like that played a role in a little bit of a 14-0 run, which again, Julius hits that big 3 isolated on Luka to end the first half. He's going crazy, pumping up the fans. Building's half full to start the second half. And again, that Lakers 14-0 run in the moment kind of felt like, for a series that isn't super high scoring. I know tonight it was 116, 113, but anytime one of those teams can string together 8 to 10-0 run, it does kind of feel like they pull away. And I just thought it was really impressive it was 14-0 in the third quarter, and for the Wolves to fight their way back one possession at a time. I think Finch was fighting to find a 5-man lineup that he really liked. He kept having to sub guys in and out, but I just thought the way the Lakers had to play all 5 guys, because they only have 5 guys they trust, and for the Wolves to be what you said, down 10 to start the fourth and just grind. I mean, the depth of one team versus the other, and then the fact that for 82 games, how many times did the 3 of us do pods where it's like, I was talking like the 44 versus 4 rule, where it's like if teams can just stay close in the race for those first 44 minutes, they feel an advantage in those final 4 minutes, that final lap of the race to just beat the Wolves. And these last 2 games, the Wolves have looked really, really good in the clutch.
They have. And the thing I had written down, does not play well off of your topic because I thought he kind of stunk in the fourth quarter, Julius Randle. But he was that same thing we were talking about last time, right, Britt, or game 3, where he does seem to provide a little bit of an offensive floor to the Wolves team, at large, where I get the sense that he's really developed a sense of what this team needs from him. And, to be fair, he's been telling us that since he returned from injury. But, then there's one of those old school Julius games gets mixed in there. It's like, how much did you, how much did you learn?
Right.
But I think, you mentioned the Jaden turning into a big sort of thing. Well, that happened when Julius Randle was out, and Julius Randle learned that.
He accommodated
it. Yes, and appreciated it. Spoke of it. We need Jaden. We're different gear when we have Jaden playing like that. With Julius, in general, and obviously Nas did everything that he did. I feel like I'm being the funky guy defender right here with him and Rudy, but there is, in ways I think similar to how Rudy stabilizes the defense, this new version of Julius Randle, who returned from injury after a month, played the last 21 games of the regular season, and made some stylistic shifts, has been a real, honestly, like a calming presence to the chaos that the younger guys on this team, can have.
First playoff game of Julius Randle's career that he didn't have a turnover.
And that's what I was going to say, is that coming in, he had a monkey on his back. There was a narrative that this guy doesn't play well in the postseason. And everybody was looking at it. It emanated out of New York because, a lot of that time was in New York. It was with other teams too. But it was, they went surprisingly deep last year, and he was hurt, and people kind of put those 2 things together.
Right.
The narrative obviously was, sure, he can probably give you great minutes, against a 500 team on a Tuesday night, but is this the kind of guy who can deliver when it matters? Mm-hmm. Well, he dragged that team, and, again, hat tip to Luka Doncic's subpar defense, but he had 21 points, I think, when no one else was in double figures or was right around there. It was clear first 18 minutes of the game.
13 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Right away, that first, it was 10 minutes in the first quarter. I mean,
exactly.
It was not when he was getting guarded by Luka.
Yep. And so the point of this is that the monkey is off. He is on a team where the coach really believes in him. He is thriving in a system. A guy who was clearly superior to him. He is the second guy. He is lieutenant on the offense. And he's beginning to think, hey, that player option that I'm taking is not the end of my life. It's, I am building interest. I am building credibility for what I can do in the modern NBA game alongside different people. And I'm proving my skill set can be flexible with other teams. And I got to think, getting traded to the Timberwolves and having Nas Reed already on the team. I saw the handwriting on the wall immediately, and anybody.
But we didn't see this, though.
No.
And the handwriting on the wall was Julius Randle will definitely get in the way of Nas Reed, and Nas Reed will not be able to flower in the way that he does because of the presence of Julius Randle.
And also, even if he doesn't, there's a lot of money considerations that have to be taken into consideration. But so he couldn't just be a good version of the same old guy.
Yeah.
He had to be an expanded version that seems more malleable for other teams to utilize. And now that playoff monkey is gone, that expansion has happened. He's on the podium with Nas Reed or Ant or whatever, and he's talking like a guy who has been instrumental in a 3-1 lead over the Lakers in his first playoff series with the Wolves. Of course, he's going to play better on the court, I think.
Reminds me of Cat last year in the playoffs a little bit, Kyle.
Yeah.
I mean, and to be clear about that monkey, it like started scurrying up his back in the fourth quarter. And like, you know, we're talking about that.
He was 0
If
for
this,
5.
yeah. If it goes, I mean, I'm the one defending him. And I was, you know, trying to highlight that last game too, but it's kind of, it's reminiscent of Cat last year where you're like, hey, you are playing a game that is helping the team win, and it's not really the way we picture you playing the game. And I think that was a huge part of Cat filing into that last season of why they went to the Western Conference Finals, and Randle through his skill set and kind of being malleable off of that is finding his way to kind of help this as well. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
No, I totally agree. I just had one other note here because I was thinking about doing a pod with you and how much you track lineups. I don't know if you have the stats on it, but how much did you love the 5 big lineup where it was all of a sudden Ant at the point, Jaden at the 2, Nas, Julius, and Rudy? I don't know what the
I started my
on that,
tweet
but-
about it, like excited, and then the Lakers scored, and I was like, ooh, they're out there.
just happy to see that. No, I'm with you though on the Julius thing. Again, it's when they acquired him, that was one of the things. It's like Julius is going to give you this, he's going to give you that, but also come playoff time, this playoff Julius thing, and it's just been really cool. I mean, he has been, even with that fourth quarter where I think all his misses, he also landed on the ground, which led to like a Lakers 5-on-4,
Fair.
where he was calling for a lot of fouls or begging for a lot of fouls. But I just thought again, like in that first quarter, when all of a sudden you saw LeBron on Jaden, you're like, oh, that's done. Like he might totally close him down. It was like one of those Super Mario stars for Julius is to be guarded by Luka. It's like anyone who is guarded by Luka, it's like, okay, that's 3 points. So he took advantage early, and that's what this team has gotten really good at is like, not your turn, my turn, but like, okay, I think they need me here. Like, you know, just like doing a 3-man pod, like, okay, Britt needs to hold this together for 4 minutes because I'm going to cough my lungs out. So they each kind of take their time, and then they let 5 close it out at the end. And that's what he did to start the fourth, and that's what he did to finish the fourth.
Absolutely. I mean, they're fitting in around each other more, and Randle's a part of that. Jaden, what we talked about, you know, it's these pieces are clicking in better. I don't know why this came to my mind when you were saying it, but like the Mike injury and the Ant injury that looked,
I thought
the Ant one was a to me, you know, and I learned my lesson about Ant of like not to get scared because it's, you know, he always goes back.
Well, LeBron fell on that angle,
yeah,
and that was it was wrecked. And Ant grabbed the knee rather than the ankle, like maybe just because he couldn't reach the ankle. But it was still one of those.
I think that's what it was. It's because he couldn't reach it. But I thought he was grabbing his knee.
Yeah. Well, he was going down there, but he couldn't get over.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But I mean, and also he was also pleading for some kind of foul that was worse than a regular foul. I don't know what happened there, but LeBron and Redick went nuts. Like, I don't know why. Like, it was clearly a foul. And maybe LeBron thought he got fouled before that. He ran over Ant or whatever.
Whenever JJ comes into my view, he's always going nuts because he's like kind of blocked from us where he normally stands.
He's
and he comes out of the court.
Missoula time.
I thought about that. I thought about that the other day. Yeah.
I mean, whenever the opposing coach walks even remotely onto the court, we have to remember the days that Missoula's rookie season in Boston was a really close game. And next thing we know, I mean, the guy had just blown his whistle, and like 3 seconds later,
Missoula's like, I'm the low man.
Standing next to the referee complaining about the call. And there was no technical call on me. Just go, that's some special dispensation.
We joke though, but we all love rewatching the games. And when you rewatch it tomorrow, I just thought there were so many moments where had they had finished a layup, right? LeBron misses one in transition, Luka misses one in transition. LeBron gets blocked by Mike Conley. I mean, Mike Conley basically risked his rest of his career just trying to get that one play. But it was just these little hustle plays that they made that really ended up having great value. But shout out to Mike Conley, man, because he kind of like in the Rudy thing, right? Like you probably just want to see them lean into that 5-man lineup more, a little more Dante. Maybe, I mean, Nikhil only played 12 minutes tonight, but you know, is Mike washed? Can Rudy play in this series? But when you just dealt Mike Conley, he makes this one play that really can kind of turn the momentum of a game.
And the truth of the matter is, the Wolves were wretched at the rim.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a period of time, I don't know when exactly in the game it was, but they were 7 for 21 from 2-point range.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was at the rim.
It was actually all of it.
mid-ranges.
It was all in the paint.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's just you don't want to do this because every game has a dynamic of its own. But the Wolves, by all rights, should have won this game. I mean, if they had shot 50% at the rim instead of 44-4, they were plus 18 points in the paint. They were plus 1 second chance points. They were plus 9 fast break points. They were plus 14 points off turnovers. I mean, if they had just also supplemented that with half court, which is the only thing left really, and hit a few layups, then it would have been a double-digit win.
This is the last thing I had down, and these are all 4 game takeaways. The way the Wolves are imposing their size consistently is standing out to me. And even when Rudy's off, they still feel like a significantly bigger team. And yes, because of Jaden, even if it's Reed and Randle at the 5 there, and the consistency of second efforts, you know, and both of those are kind of offensive rebound related, but it's okay, there's a deflection and all 5 guys move towards it. They are winning the 50-50 battle thing. And I don't think it's because the Lakers aren't trying or aren't doing it. The Wolves are better at being big. The Wolves are better at the second efforts, and that's having a bigger, more athletic team. And I think that's has been some sort of, you know, X factor in this. You got anything else?
Yeah, I think it's cool that we didn't really talk about Jaden tonight, who I thought again we didn't really do a full segment on him. He finishes with 16 and 11. And again, he just seems to find more and more energy the more he guards Luka, which is insane. But a little bit of a victory lap again, because I'm doing this pod with Britt, but we talked about the Lakers playing their same 5 guys for 24 minutes in the third and fourth quarter. I think Lakers fans and people that cover that team are really criticizing that, being like, how did you not find a way to give Luka or LeBron 2 minutes of rest to start the fourth and the third when you have that 10-point lead? I think that, I mean, it was a risk that JJ probably had to make, but I think there's been times in this series where JJ has made first-year head coach mistakes. The biggest one to me tonight was when he challenged the Austin Reeves foul, because I was like, why would you burn that challenge at this moment? Then they didn't have a challenge the rest of the game. And I think not having a challenge is really scary. And conversely, I think Chris Finch is just coaching his ass off, man. I mean, now they're 7 for 7 on challenges. I would imagine that he doesn't like that stat because he wishes they would have got the call right the first time. But that even the challenge tonight, to have that in his back pocket for that. I mean, the biggest play of the game is when Ant drives and LeBron gets him on the wrist. That could have been Lakers ball down 1 or Lakers ball down 3, and Lakers didn't have a timeout after that. So I think Finch, and to your point, just the comfortabilitiness and the way his guys have become cohesive, just not always X's and O's, but just the vibes and the stuff you don't always see.
They're playing in his image, his view of this, right? Like that's
the offense, the closing offense, moves the ball, moves without the ball, and makes quick decisions. That's what happened. I mean, the play all of us just cherished tonight was the old Ant to Nas to Jaden. It was like a 45-degree angle play, and it was executed crisply, and it involved moving the ball, moving without the ball, and making quick decisions. And that flow offense, DiVincenzo's been on board with that from the beginning. And Julius Randle, it's not his game. But the mutual faith that Finch and Randle have in each other have resulted in, I mean, Chris Finch is like a mother bear when it comes to Julius Randle. You say a bad word about Julius Randle, man, he won't rebuke
you even ask a
directly.
question that's positive about Naz Reid, and it'll be like,
And, it'll
Julius
be,
is
and
name is
also,
getting-
you know, well, like Ant, didn't Ant have a phenomenal game? Yeah,
Julius
he
did,
and Julius too in that first quarter. I mean, it's like
Mama bear.
everything. And
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know what happens going forward, but three up in the first round. They won, as it turns out, 49 games when it looked for quite a while as if they would be in the mid 40s. It looked like for a while they would be a play-in team. The fact that they made the 6th seed and had to go on the road against the Lakers, and you look at that and you look at some of the other possibilities and you go, well, you know, you can only play who you play, and the matchups are where they are. And I did not call the Wolves to win the series. I wrote a column specifically talking about the ways the Wolves could beat the Lakers because I knew in my heart that there was a decent pathway to win. But this team did not demonstrate the poise and composure necessary to win a first-round series against a higher-seeded team with two incredibly smart players on the other side. So I went with my head, and I just said, I believed it. I thought the Lakers would win in 6. The fact that they, you know, as opposed to last year, where in the first round I thought they beat Phoenix when everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people picked Phoenix. The reason I'm wrong is because they had a week to prepare again, and they came in with a really good idea of what they wanted to do and who they were, and that Chris Finch has been willing to flex at just the right times. And you know he's talked about it extensively with Gobert and Conley before even thinking about making a move. He might have said even at the beginning of the series, there may be times when I'm going to pull you, and it may be in crucial times when we need a little bit more of this or whatever. But I know he is a pre-let people know kind of coach. And I know that these lineup changes at precisely the time, it's almost like you look up, oh, it's 5:06 left in the game, and they're within 4 or 5 or 6 points. Okay, you know, time to bring in that lineup that is a boost lineup. It's not a, you know, a defend lineup. That's somebody who doesn't make change very often, but when he makes change, it's meaningful.
Well,
Why
like
don't you bring us home?
like you joked about on Friday night. I hope the Wolves aren't listening to this, because some guy hit Britt and I up on the way to the studio and said, wait, who do you think the Wolves match up with in the next series? And Britt and I were both like, hey, let's wait. Okay. Because I've watched LeBron in all 4 of these games in person, and I've been blown away every single time. After giving you 38 and 10 on Friday, he comes back on a day and a half rest, gives you 27, 12, and 8, 3 steals and 3 blocks. This team has had a propensity to, once they start to feel themselves, take the foot off the gas a little bit. And again, they've also had a propensity to not close games well. And they've literally, for at least this weekend, fixed that. But I'll be happier when the Wolves have clinched a series and it's posted in the Star Tribune or at Min Post or whatever. I'm not 3-1. You took care of business at home. You got the game on the road. But the last thing you want to do is give the guy who's kind of most known for coming back from 3-1 air. Sure. You want to end this Wednesday night in LA at Crypto Arena.
Yeah, no, we'll keep rolling with this, and yeah, Game 5 was on Wednesday. We'll see if they're able to, you know, take care of it in 5, or if we have to, you know, come back to Minneapolis and see if this thing, you know, however far it has to go. I am traveling back to LA for Game 5. I'm not sure if we'll get another pod in before we go there and before Game 5, but this has been really fun to do these post game pods.
And your new digs.
Yeah, and the new digs. Yeah, man. It's a lot easier. It'd be a little bit harder, I think, if we were all on computer screens here. But no.
One thing I do want to say before we check out, and it is not about assuming a Wolves win. It is to say that if the Wolves win, they are on the road if it's against Houston, and they are at home as a 6 seed if the 7th seeded Warriors win. So it's a difference. I think it's a pretty big difference, despite the fact that they've been a really good road team this year. I think if you're going to get Golden State, getting them at home isn't a bad idea.
Oh, you're going to bring a little more heat right there. 6 comes before 7. We'll see. But good job, Kyle. You kept this in place, and we'll see. But I do think just from, I mean, my final thoughts of like, I was, of all three of us, I think the most had the highest likelihood that the Lakers were going to win the series. And like I said, I really think after seeing what LeBron and Luka did tonight and the Wolves' ability to overcome that, in addition to what we saw in games 1 through 3, this team is in a good spot to be able to take care of business. We don't think, as maybe kind of indicated by playing the same guys for the entire second half. I'm not sure how many different things in the bag JJ has to go to, but it does, to your point, Kyle, they're now closing games in the playoffs. They got to close this. They got to close this series and take it seriously. This has been really fun. We'll be back for more pods, maybe before Game 5, for sure afterwards. Until then, he's Britt, he's Kyle, I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down.